Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Joel Rosen. I am an adrenal fatigue recovery ninja and I help people recover from their adrenal fatigue nightmare. I posted a question to my adrenal fatigue fans, which I like to call my adrenal hacker community, because that's my new term that I'm going to be basically trying to coin so that we can hack this adrenal problem, call ourselves the adrenal hackers. So look forward to more information about that. But anyways, I had a post talking about the number one question regarding your adrenal fatigue. And so I'm trying to put them in basically categories because there's a very common theme that we're getting. But I also want to make sure that I address it, and it's just too much to type out. So I'm going to create these videos trying to answer these questions as best as I can. So the number one question that I see right now that I'm getting with these adrenal fatigue hackers that I'm posting it to is, how do I know if I have adrenal fatigue? And the first thing I would say is that you're going to have to go off of subjective complaints first, because the truth of the matter is most doctors don't even accept adrenal fatigue as a legitimate diagnosis. They say that it's an internet diagnosis, it's all in your head, there's no such thing as it, you're making it up. You're doing Dr. Google and you're crazy, your blood tests are normal. So how do I know if I have it, let alone if it's a real condition? So I always say subjectively, meaning how do you feel? Because your body knows that you just don't handle stressors the same way. You don't bounce back the way you used to. You get more anxious if you have a stressor. You probably get shaky, lightheaded, and jittery if you haven't eaten a meal, or you crash after a meal, or you don't wake up with a bounding amount of energy to start your day, or you're not hungry, or you crash in the middle of the day, or you can't stay asleep, you can't fall asleep, you can't focus. These are all good signs of adrenal fatigue. You crave salts, you perspire easily. These are really, really great signs that you may be dealing with an adrenal fatigue problem. The other thing that I tell my patients is we put together a subjective assessment form that really looks at some of the variables. So we have two categories, and if you answer very probable or highly probable to these questions, then there's a good chance that you're dealing with adrenal fatigue. And we actually rank these, and so that when we put together a protocol, we can retest this to see if these tests are coming down. So you cannot stay asleep, you crave salts, you're a slow starter in the morning, you get afternoon fatigue, you get dizzy when you stand up very quickly, you have afternoon headaches, headaches with exertion, and you have weak nails. These would be a good sign that potentially you have an underactive adrenal problem. With overactive adrenal problems, you can't fall asleep, you perspire very easily, you're under high amounts of stress, you gain weight when you're under stress, you wake up tired even if you've had 6 hours of sleep or more, and there's excessive perspiration. So those are questionnaires that we use to determine. The next thing we do is we talk about objective testing. So again, most tests come back normal. So a lot of patients ask me, what do I look for on my blood test? And I tell patients, look for anything that's out of the range first. So if it's flagged, typically we'll see sodium, your electrolytes, magnesium, potassium, chloride. A lot of these things will be skewed, and if they are, your adrenals regulate your minerals, and if your minerals are off, that's a pretty good indication that you're suffering with an adrenal problem. Other things we see are white blood cells being high or low, any signs of inflammation, insulin resistance, digestive issues with proteins being off, liver enzymes being elevated, kidney proteins being up or down. All of these things are good indications that something's going on in the body. C-reactive protein, homocysteine, uric acid. A lot of these things are going to tell us. It's not going to specifically point and say, okay, your adrenals are not doing so great, but it is going to give us an indication that there's some smoke, and where there's smoke, there's typically fire. The other thing we talk about is the adrenal saliva test. Great test to look at your free cortisol levels, how your circadian rhythms are doing, if they're outputting cortisol in the right times, at the right times of the day, and it gives us an idea on how much or how little you're outputting. And then lastly, we do a dried urinary total cortisol and hormone test. So this is a test that we do 4 different urine measurements during the day at dinner time, at bedtime, when we wake up the next day, and 2 hours later. So all of these things are ways that we determine if you're dealing with an adrenal fatigue problem. And like a roadmap, if we're going on a destination, then we want to know where we're starting and where we're going. So we always, always, always have to have these put in place before we go any further. So just summarizing, how do I know if I have an adrenal fatigue problem? Above all else, subjective symptoms, just not handling stressors the way you used to and not having energy. We do a metabolic assessment where we look at symptoms of high and low adrenal problems. We look at objective tests from blood work. We look at saliva testing, and we look at urine hormone testing. Those are the best ways that we're going to determine if you're dealing with an adrenal fatigue problem. My name is Dr. Rosen. I hope you enjoyed this edition of your Adrenal Fix. Make sure you give me a thumbs up, a share, a like, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and check me out on Facebook at Adrenal Fatigue Recovery. Looking forward to building an adrenal hacker community and looking forward to helping you recover with your adrenal fatigue nightmare. Thank you so much.